So it is not the institution that is a problem, because as Guk Jung mentioned many times, you can see Cheon Il Guk as an upside down triangle. You can see how the super elites try to make a right side up triangle where they're ruling from on top. But Cheon Il Guk is an upside down triangle. There's no monopoly in Cheon Il Guk. But, as Guk Jung explains, within the upside down triangle, you can have regular triangles, and you can have many of those regular triangles inside the upside down triangle. But there's not just one triangle. You see what I'm saying? In the upside down triangle, you can have many regular triangles. You can have big triangles, you can have small triangles. Those are different organizations that can set up hierarchies and can set up such things. Pyramids are not inherently bad as long as they have competition and as long as they don't have a monopoly. So, for example, in Cheon Il Guk, the king will be head of his own church, which is kind of like a pyramid too. There's a hierarchy. But at the same time, he allows for competition with his own church, as exemplified by sanctuary. If members of the sanctuary do not want to participate in the hierarchical church, but want to still be connected to Second King, they can do so. And they can start their own independent church with their own independent pyramid, independent hierarchy. So it is not organization that is inherently bad, and this is the incorrect understanding of many. It is not inherently that the organization is bad. God sets up organization. The Peaceful EP militia will be organized in a pyramid fashion too. Any military that has to move will be organized in a pyramid fashion. Different coordinated teams. Why? Because it is effective and efficient. Businesses will be organized in pyramid form. There will not be 100 CEOs in a given business. There'll be one CEO, because that's the most efficient way to get things done. But it doesn't mean that everybody has to be in a pyramid business. One can start their own independent business and create their own pyramid from there. They don't have to be in a big pyramid. They can be in a small pyramid. The pyramid itself is not evil. God made trigonometry, and a tripod is necessary to actually hold things up. It is just a polygon, a shape. The problem is how the globalists and the centralists and the Satanists try to use that to literally sit on the entire world. That's the problem. And they do not allow for competition. And they create the monopoly. That is a problem with that polygon, with that shape. It's how the predatory elite try to use it to create authoritarianism. Whereas Cheon Il Guk, it will be upside down because there'll be so much competition. But again, there's some people that want to make their own independent organizations. That's fine, they can do that. But there's some people who don't want to make their own independent organizations, because when you do, you have to do everything yourself. It takes a lot of work to make up your own independent organization, then sustain itself. Some people will just choose, no, I don't need to make my own organization. I'd rather just work in an existing organization and participate my specialized skill to that organization. Many people will just choose to be part of an organization. So in Cheon Il Guk, one has that freedom. One has independence to do so, to participate in society, in either a hierarchical organization, in an independent entrepreneur organization. Usually will be a smaller business or a smaller organization. But as they grow, then they have to create their own hierarchy within it. See, it's not the hierarchy itself which is evil. And our brothers and sisters actually have to understand this. Hierarchy itself is not evil. There's hierarchy in the animal kingdom. There's hierarchy in a plant kingdom. There's hierarchy. Whenever humans organize, there's a hierarchy. Because if you don't, you will be less efficient and you'll be defeated by an organization that is efficient and has hierarchy. All local police, militia will also have hierarchy, depending on capabilities. Who has the most experience and knowledge of self-defense and community defense? Those people will naturally be put as leaders. So in Cheon Il Guk, it's not some kind of socialist utopia where everybody's pretending there's going to be no leadership and they're going to all be leaders. No, there will be leaders. There will be organizations that are formed in pyramid fashion. That's not inherently bad. It's an upside-down pyramid as a nation of Cheon Il Guk, with smaller pyramids and larger-sized pyramids and medium-sized pyramids within it. But no one pyramid will be able to catch it all. See the problem? See the difference? You must not be foolish in understanding Cheon Il Guk incorrectly. Trying to wage war on all organization, you are then going against God. Father himself created tons of organization with many pyramids. You are then guilty of being blind to the reality of the need of organization. And it's becoming an ideology where you're now even blinding yourself to the Messiah. Organization itself is not inherently bad. It is the monopolization of one organization that then leads to a one pyramid that sits over the whole world, or a government, one government that sits over the world. That is a dangerous thing. That's a very dangerous thing. That's why in the United States of Cheon Il Guk, there will be many states, nations that become states. And within those nations, they may have many pyramids. They themselves will have a president. Of course, there's a balance of power greater than the US. But still, essentially, you will still have, if you look at the whole globe, you'll see many, many small little pyramids all over. But if you look at the whole picture, it will be an upside-down pyramid. We must understand this. We must understand that if Adam took over and inherited the kingdoms from God, he would also create a pyramid. He would be the, not only founding father, but he would be the actual father of the world. And his children wouldn't be just his friends. They would still be his children. And he would teach them how to create organization. He would teach them how to create kingdoms. It wouldn't be some utopian Hobbitsville or something. But even Hobbitsville has organization. They had little armies. You see? Being anti-organization doesn't mean you're a Cheon Il Guk. It means you do not understand Cheon Il Guk. Organization will be essential in Cheon Il Guk because it creates tremendous prosperity. Organizations fulfill, if you're a business and you have organization, you will fulfill your customers' needs more efficiently and faster and more effectively. if you're a successful organization and you have organizers and you have managers, which are very important. So it's not it's not managers and organizations and hierarchy that create or that are inherently evil. When Jesus returns, guiding his army from heaven, there's organization. There's hierarchy. They're not just going to be able to just running around doing what they want. There's a commander-in-chief. You see? So one must not be foolish in trying to get rid of all organization, because then you are becoming archangelic. You are becoming then one with a false ideology, a false message, false mission. The enemy is not organization. The enemy is non-competition and monopoly. In image form of Cheon Il Guk culture, already sanctuary is embodying that by allowing independent organizations. Those are happening all over the world. People are not forced to be in one organization. People are not forced to exist, even if they want to connect with the second king, to exist in one organization of the continental directors or the national leaders that we appoint. They can also request to get their own anointing with their declaration of faith. That true father is the King of Kings, and that Moon Hyung-jin, his successor, heir, inheritor, and representative body, is the second king. And Moon Shin-jun is the third king. Etc., etc. But basically, that's the statement of faith. Basically, that's what it's comprised of. It's a very small conditional thing. So they can still be connected to God's providence. They can still be connected to Father's kingship providence. But they don't have to exist in one hierarchy, which is vastly different. Of course, it's a different universe than also the family fraud or the Kwakwa, well, you name it, all these organizations that try to create a monopoly, want a monopoly. We do not let even our national churches or continental churches, we do not force everybody to enter into a monopoly. They themselves can create independent organizations and still be acknowledged by the second king, still be part of sanctuary family. You see how vastly different that is? The Cheon Il Guk citizen must not be skewed in their focus. It's not organization that is a problem. It is monopoly that is a problem. Non-competition, that is a problem. Cheon Il Guk citizens themselves will create many organizations, many hierarchies, and many efficient machines, organizational machines, with many, many managers, with many, many, many people in business suits doing executive and managerial work. That's not inherently bad. Those things, those kind of people are absolutely essential. People who have gifts of managing, gifts of working with groups, guiding groups, leading groups, leaders who can lead groups. These people are extremely important if you are to do anything that's on large scale in the world, because they're force multipliers. And every organization that's successful absolutely needs qualified and very capable leaders, managers, executives, etc. Absolutely critical. In the free market, there'll be tons of them. So just because you don't like working on with managers, or you want to do your own thing, don't attack others who have efficient managers and efficient directors, etc. They're not the problem. They have gifts given to them by God. If you want to run your own organization where you're just there alone with no hierarchy and you're just there alone, that's fine. You're just going to have to do all the work. And you will be less efficient. But don't bitch and complain at other organizations that have managers and have directors and are way more competitive and way more efficient than you, because it's not the problem with that. The problem is you. You do not create an environment where capable managers are coming and want to work for you. You are not creating an environment that is allowing for capable directors to come work with you and create more efficiency and more effectiveness. The problem is you. It's not the manager or the existence of directors. You see the problem there? If you are guilty of this in your conscience, you should be convicted by the Holy Spirit, because you are not understanding Cheon Il Guk culture or Cheon Il Guk freedom. You are becoming an ideologue because you've had bad experiences in the family fed, or if you have bad experience with the quack group, whatever it is, or in organizations, and you want to just be your own boss and be mom and pop shop, which is fine. You can do that. But you cannot attack other people for creating successful organizations. That you cannot do. Because in Cheon Il Guk, there'll be tons of them. And there'll be dynasties that are created around them. And you'll never get rid of them. Because they're not inherently archangelic. Adam would have control, and his descendants would have control over tons of organizations. Tons. Everything from political organizations to business organizations, to church organizations, or ecclesiastical organizations, spiritual organizations, non-profit organizations. And they would all have hierarchies, dum-dum. Father talked about hierarchy all the time. Between husband and wife, there's a hierarchy. They're not just 50-50 like the family father is saying. The husband has different responsibilities than his wife. And he's the head of the household. He has to play that role. He has to be the head coach. He has to be responsible. He has to lead the family in prayer in spiritual warfare. The Bible says a man who does not earn a living for his family is worse than an unbeliever. So he's also financial responsibility. There's a hierarchy between parents and children, between grandparents, parents, and children. In the culture that Father came, in Korean culture, there's way more hierarchy than that. Even among siblings, there's hierarchy. You must respect your siblings just because they're your elders. I guess in the West too. In the West too, people value that you respect your elders. The West is like that too. It's not as hierarchical, and doesn't have some of the great abuses of like seniors versus juniors in like college or some of that. In college, basically, if you have seniors above you, they can rape you and have sex with you and do whatever the heck they want to you, beat you and abuse you, and you basically have to take it as part of the culture. Also in the Korean military, same thing. Anyways, the point is, hierarchy itself is not the enemy. If you are railing against that, you're basically becoming an ideological anarchist. And Cheon Il Guk is not an anarchy. Cheon Il Guk is organized, not by central planning, by free association, free will. And in those organizations, and of course by the Constitution, But in those relationships of free association, free will, you are going to have many hierarchical organizations which will be very successful and produce lots of money and lots of cash flow and lots of success for the people who work in them, you bums. Now what are you going to do? Complain about that? Because not everybody's a mom and pop shop? No! You're attacking the wrong thing. Don't be stupid like that. It's when that all becomes centralized to one thing that becomes a problem in a nation. We encourage people to build their own organizations with proper hierarchies, obviously ethical hierarchies, not like where you're physically abusing the people and stuff like that. We have ethical hierarchical organizations that practice proper business ethics, etc. If you don't, your capable managers will not stay. They will leave. Capable lawyers and accountants will not stay. They will leave. They have many more options. The more capable you are managerially or whatever in terms of executive, you're not going to have to stay in one organization. So if you want to create an organization, you have to be able to work with people who know how to manage. And I've explained this to my son too. My sons were very younger. And usually the people who are very good at managing are really good with, they're not like the charismatic athlete types. Of course, there are many athletes that also can do managing, that eventually become great managers. But many times they're just very quiet, very boring people, but who understand management. So I was explaining this to my children when they were younger, because they only thought that, they kind of made fun of kids who were kind of quiet and nerdy, and they would just try to see kids that are just cool and charismatic as those people they want to be around just naturally because they're ignorant, dumb children. But they have to be able to work with both. You have to be able to work with some people who are very high level capable managers, but they look like the biggest nerd bags in the world. And you don't respect them out of their coolness. That's not why you respect somebody or work with somebody who has those talents. You work with them because they have the ability. So you kind of have that bias. If you only want to work with people who are cool, you're going to suck. Because many times managers and very capable managers and directors are not cool. They're boring nerds. They're not fun. They're boring. This is very important. And if you can't work with those kind of boring people, or very, very, very mathematical, many of them are very, very mathematical. If math drives you crazy, that's fine, but don't let it impinge or hinder your ability to deal with people who are very mathematical. Don't create a bias like that, otherwise it's going to hamper your own ability to create stronger success. I don't necessarily love math, even though I did very well in calculus and those kind of things. Not from a young age, but when I was in college, I did better. I got A's and stuff like that in college, not in high school. I did terribly then. Failed algebra in high school. So I'm not necessarily a lover of math, even though I can do math. But I don't have a bias against people who are very mathematical and very calculating. Being very calculating is very important. I want people on my managerial team. I want people on my directing team that is very calculating, that know how to calculate, that are very mathematical. Absolutely. I don't create an environment that is hostile to them. And as you see, how we love both Jamal and Lourdes, we're not hostile to people who have totally different or who continually clash heads. We can still allow them to function in the image of Cheon Il Guk. The warning is, of course, that they should not become ideologues and crusading against something that is opposite to Cheon Il Guk. Jamal should not be crusading against Lourdes for the purpose of believing that he's some kind of heroic person against hierarchy. No, because in Cheon Il Guk there'll be tons of hierarchy. You just are not beholden to one. You don't have to stay in it if you don't want to. You can move and create your own organization. With no hierarchy, you could just be your own business owner or a non-profit organization owner. Or even your own ministry. With just one staff, that's you. That's fine too. You see what I mean? That's fine too. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that. You just have to do all the work yourself. As soon as you hire a helping hand, oh, you create a hierarchy. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Now you got to go against yourself. You see that? No, it's not hierarchy that itself which is a problem. Or see, that's why people didn't like the family fed, so they think everything of hierarchy is, then you're becoming an anarchist. That's not Cheon Il Guk. Father made an organization, many organizations, with many hierarchies. He didn't let his leaders monopolize one hierarchy. He made UPF as a competing organization hierarchy to family fed. He then made Women's Fed as a competing organization with UPF. Youth Fed separated out the groups there. But they were all pyramids. Father was knowledgeable of the fact that it was pyramids. So he saw Cheon Il Guk. He knew that there would be many pyramids, many competing factions, many competing organizations, many competing hierarchies. It's not a hierarchy itself that is inherently evil. And you will not get rid of hierarchies in Cheon Il Guk. There will be plenty of hierarchical businesses, hierarchical churches, hierarchical ministries, hierarchical non-profit organizations, you name it. But there'll be plenty of non-hierarchical one-man, one-woman shops, too. Let's call it a small business. You'll just have to do all the work yourself. And as soon as you hire a secretary, whoa, you've now made a hierarchy. You see that? Not sustainable. If your goal is just to get rid of our hierarchies, you are unsustainable yourself. Your goal is to create boards, but then you team up with other people where you're basically creating a board. See, human activity cannot be productive if you don't work in teams. And as long as you have teams, as soon as you have teams, you have a leader that's going to lead that pack. If you don't, you're not going to be as competitive as another team of 3 or 4 or 5 that has a leader and has an expanding hierarchy. You won't be as competitive. It's as simple as that. An unorganized military maybe can do guerrilla warfare, but can never be as effective as a organized military. Maybe you can do defensive guerrilla warfare, but you're not going to be able to do what those big military leaders, not that Cheon Il Guk will, obviously we won't do that. The point is in Cheon Il Guk, it will not be anti-hierarchy. It'll be anti-monopoly. 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 Monopolies will not be able to form. You see? The problem is not many banks with different hierarchies. The problem is a central bank that controls all banks. One monopoly. That's a problem. That's why in Cheon Il Guk, they will not be able, no bank will be able to own 1% or more than 1% of the banking industry. The problem with a federalized military is that it's one military. That's a problem. Whereas a militia is many small pyramids of hierarchies. So in a militia, you could have a general, you could have a lieutenant, you could have a sergeant, etc. You'll have a small hierarchy. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have a hierarchy. You have white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. The problem with the federalized police or military is that there's one pyramid. That's a problem. Everybody's forced to go into one pyramid. That's why the right to bear arms is essential, so that people can create their own smaller pyramids that balance and correct and compete with the larger pyramid. You see what I'm saying? If you are ideologically, you don't realize it, and you're just against all hierarchy, you are then an anarchist, and you are not of Cheon Il Guk. You are not representing Cheon Il Guk. Because you may not have the capability of working with qualified and capable managers that create efficiency in organization, doesn't mean you can wage war against all other organizations that have hierarchy. Because in Cheon Il Guk, there'll be plenty of them. That just shows your own incapability. Even being a sanctuary, you must understand the nature of Cheon Il Guk. Don't go off on your own utopian scheme. Understand the reality of Cheon Il Guk. Cheon Il Guk will have plenty of triangles, plenty of pyramids, big, small, medium. But as a nation, it will be upside down, meaning that there's no monopoly. Do not pursue vain pursuits or false ideological crusades, lest you yourself become an uncitizen of Cheon Il Guk, yourself, by your own choice, choosing to create another satanic kingdom that will only lead to oppression, lead to the oppression of people's skills, talents, and own abilities that God gave them to organize in groups. You are then impinging on free association without you even knowing, because you're on some stupid ideological crusade. You are then trying to stop people from working together as a team. You don't think a family business has hierarchy with a dad who's training his son? You're then standing against those things once you become an ideological anarchist. You're becoming stupid and foolish, and you're believing a utopia that's just as retarded as a freaking socialist, and that will never exist. Cheon Il Guk will be a place of free association and freedom of connecting to who you wish to connect to. So long that, of course, it doesn't impinge the rights of others and hinder the Constitution. Right? Organizations are not allowed to monopolize and take control over it. That then impinges on the Constitution. So one must understand the true nature of Cheon Il Guk and allow for people to freely organize. And that's why, of course, in the image form, we allow people to freely organize, whether or not they want to be in a hierarchical organization, or whether they want to create their own hierarchical organization, or whether they want to create their own one-man pop, mom and pop shop. That's fine too. All are welcome in Cheon Il Guk, as long as they abide by the Cheon Il Guk Constitution and uphold the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.